All praise, glory, and honor is most certainly due to the Most High Elohim of the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I want to say peace to each and every one of you in the name of His Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, who we know as Jesus the Christ. It's always a blessing each and every single time that I can come before you to bring a message contained in His Word, and never do I count it as a light thing to do so. In today's message, I want to deal with a question, in which, again, I've done a few this week. This particular question is dealing with another seemingly contradiction found in the Bible. And the question is, who was it that caused David to number Israel? The Bible contradicts itself, because in one instance it says it was David. Then in another it was Satan. Okay? So now let's read this here. Let's go to 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel, the 24th chapter. 2 Samuel 24. And we will pick it up at verse 1. 2 Samuel 24 and verse 1. It reads very simply, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he moved David. So they said, was it the Lord or was it Satan? It says, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he moved David against them to say, go number Israel and Judah. Okay, so that's one. Then the other is in 1 Chronicles. 1 Chronicles, the 21st chapter, and it says, give me a moment here. 1 Chronicles 21, it says in verse 1, and Satan stood up against Israel and provoked David to number Israel. So the question is, how do you believe in the Bible, this seems like a contradiction. Well, it seems like a contradiction because you don't necessarily understand how things work. And how this dynamic between Satan and Yahuwah, or between Satan and the Lord, this works in a different way than you would think. Let's go to Job. And I've mentioned this before in previous messages about how this depiction of Satan and this Europeanized Christ, you can see this imagery where they're arm wrestling. You see some, and that image is, where you see this Europeanized Christ and he's arm wrestling against Satan, and Satan is depicted as this literally red man with horns and a tail. And all of that is wrong. The depiction of Satan is wrong. The depiction of Christ is certainly wrong. And this notion of them arm wrestling as if they are the same strength and have the same magnitude, that is also incorrect. But you can understand how these things occur in a physical realm if you have some insight into what's going on in the spiritual realm. And what's going on in the spiritual realm, before we read Job, I actually want to read something in the book of Isaiah. It will matter, but what's going on in the spiritual realm will be manifested in the physical realm. However, what has allowed that to take place, the things that take place from death to chaos, all these things, that door was opened by Adam. See, that was a part of opening the door when he sinned and death came into the world. That all comes along with death. And so now the species and the earth is all in a fallen state. Okay? This is why Christ had to come to restore, to give man an opportunity to be restored through his death, his crucifixion. And he will literally cleanse this earth through fire and then purifying waters, and bring it to the point to where, when it's all said and done, there will be no more flesh and blood on this earth. There will only be God, or Elohim, in all. And what he made us to be, we will be, which is him. He was procreating himself. And the seed that he procreated with when it came to us, because then everything after its own kind, when you read in the book of Genesis, is his word. That we are begotten by the word. And his word is spiritual. And ultimately, when it's all said and done, this body we have, we're going to be resurrected and shed this body and have a brand new body. But now, in the book of Isaiah, the prophet says something very interesting. He says, in verse 5, he says, I am the Lord, and there is none else. There is no God beside me. I have girded thee, though thou hast not known me, that they may know from the rising of the sun and from the west, that there is none beside me. I am the Lord, and there is none else. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. And that's what people fail to realize. They fail to realize that it is the Lord who is in power. But he has given Satan some autonomy. Okay? And Satan is on his job. All right? I want to read something else here. Give me a moment. Because people really don't understand. I know I say that often, but it's just that people are, they superficially read the Bible. Okay? They superficially read the Bible, and that's why they really don't get it. And they see things to be contradictions, but they don't understand that it is multifaceted, it is multi-layered. Let's go to the book of Job. Job 1. Now, the Bible describes Job, and he's described as a perfect man, a perfect and an upright man, one that feared God and eschewed or hated evil. Right? But notice what it says here in verse 6. Job 1 and 6 reads, "Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them." Okay, so who are these sons of God? Now these sons of God are different from the sons of God in Genesis 6. These sons of God are angels. All right? So now, he says that these sons of God present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. Then it says, "And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? And then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro on the earth and from walking up and down in it." So now, when you go back and you read Genesis and the punishment upon Satan, it says he would eat dust. Man is but dust. From dust thou art, and to dust shalt thou return. So man is but dust. Furthermore, you find out that that he's walking about seeking whom he may devour. We read that in the epistle of Peter. So now this is confirmed in the first chapter of Job, when he asked him, "Whence comest thou?" That's what he told you, from going to and fro on the earth and from walking up and down in it. He is our chief adversary. He goes on to say, "And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil." Okay, so he said, hey, listen, I got one that you can tempt. And Job, quite frankly, was a picture or a shadow of Christ. One that was righteous. Now, we understand that he wasn't, it's not like he never sinned, but he was walking in perfection at this particular time. Then, because all have sinned and come short of the glory of God in some form or fashion. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, "Doth Job fear God for naught? Hast thou made an hedge about him and about his house and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thine hand now." Wait a minute. Put forth thine hand now is saying, in other words, allow me to tempt him. See, Satan had to be allowed to tempt Job. He didn't just do it on his own. It says, and he would, so it says in verse 11 at the top, "But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in thy power, only upon himself put forth not thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord." Now remember when I said earlier about how things go on in the spiritual realm, but then they can be manifested in the physical. So what you're going to see, a physical manifestation of a wager, if you will, or an agreement that took place in the spiritual realm. Verse 13, "And there was a day when the sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in the eldest brother's house." And what happens? He finds out that his daughters and his sons and his daughters are died. He lost all of his wealth, he lost his children and his progeny and his wealth. And what does Job do? Verse 21. Because he fell down and he worshipped. It says in verse 20, "Then Job rose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshipped." Okay? So understand what happened. The Lord allowed Satan to tempt him. Okay? And in that temptation, when he lost all that he had, he was a righteous man, he didn't say anything disparaging against the Lord. It says he worshipped and said, "Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." In all this, Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. That wasn't the end of the temptation. In the end of the temptation, it comes further when he loses his health. When Satan says, "Skin for skin. All that a man hath will he give for his life." So now, he says again in the second chapter, in verse 5, Satan says, "But put forth thine hand now and touch his bone and his flesh." He's talking to the Lord. So who is doing it? The Lord is allowing Satan to do it. It said, "And he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life." In other words, Okay, you can touch his health, but don't kill him. So went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord. And now this is in the spiritual realm, but what takes place in the physical realm? It says, so went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with the sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. So now, that's what took place in the physical. He's covered in boils. Now, you just think about this. He lost his wealth. More importantly, he lost his progeny, and now he's lost his health. And then what does his wife say? Verse 9. Then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse God and die. That sounds like that was verbatim what Satan said Adam would say. Excuse me, what Job would say. But so now these words are seemingly put in the mouth of his wife, and he says, he doesn't say, yeah, you're right, and he doesn't curse God. It says, but he said unto her in verse 10, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive evil? And all this did not Job sin with his lips. So now, he resisted the temptation. Let's go a little further. Let's go to James. We're in the book of James, and we'll read one verse here. James chapter 4, and we'll pick it up at verse 7. It says, submit yourselves therefore to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. So now that's what he did. But now understand, so when we look at it, who did it? It was Satan doing it, but who allowed it? It was the Lord. The same thing with the numbering. Yes, Satan tempted him, but also the Lord allowed it to take place. That's how it could be both. So one is emphasizing what the Lord allowed, and the other is emphasizing on what Satan did, because the Lord allowed Satan to do it. So, like I said, the Bible is multifaceted, it is layered and understand it, and it is the depths that you could, quite frankly, you could have a number of lifetimes and be scratching the surface if you studied every day. So with that, brothers and sisters, it is always my prayer that you were edified.